And older Americans have a suicide rate that is greater than their share of the population. One reason may be that symptoms of depression in the elderly can be subtle and they are often dismissed as a normal consequence of growing old. But as Perry Peltz reports, once diagnosed, elderly depression can be relatively easy to treat.
Rosalind Auerbach says she lived for her family, raising her 2 children in Brooklyn, a marriage of 55 years, and now her greatest joy, 3 grandchildren. But at one time, Rosalind says she couldn't enjoy her family at all because she became depressed.
I wanted to say, I'm going to give up, and I don't want to live anymore.
I knew how to load and unload a gun in the dark.
Phyllis, now 75 years old, says suicide was never far from her thoughts. The depression, she says, was relentless.
You feel like you're worthless, that there's nothing more for you to do. Why are you here? Why do you have to go on?
Rosalind says it felt like there was nothing left to do. Her husband died. Her children were grown. She was sick, and she felt like the next activity in her life was death.
I just was so out of it. I didn't know which way to turn.
Rosalind didn't turn for help. She just assumed the depression was just another part of aging that she would live with until she died.
Contrary to popular belief, depression is not a natural part of aging.
Not natural and very treatable if diagnosed, but diagnosis can be difficult.
Sometimes it can be tricky diagnosing depression in the elderly because very often those signs are very subtle. And if there's some early dementia and some cognitive loss, those signs in terms of diagnosing depression can be quite subtle.
Subtle, but there. Symptoms include persistent sadness, feelings of worthlessness, changes in weight, tearfulness, pacing and fidgeting, and excessive worry. The good news, depression in the elderly can be treated. But first, a doctor must rule out that medications already being taken for other ailments like diabetes and hypertension are not the cause of the depression. After that, counseling and drug therapy can make a significant improvement.
Life is worth living, and there's a lot of pleasure that one can derive in life, even in their 80s and their 90s.
Like Phyllis, who has gone back to graduate school to earn her degree in social work, and Rosalind, who enjoys copper enameling and exercise.
I put a smile on my face because when you cry alone. And that's not the way to be. You have to be out and amongst people in order to make sure that you forget yourself just a little bit.